Welcome to my show. I'm a guest here. His name is Emil Pienaar. Mr. Emil, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How about you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Emil. And also, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. Firstly, you are a mental health practitioner. Can you please, Mr. Emil, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. Emil?
Well, I've got quite a range of backgrounds. So worked in mental health, addictions, disabilities, corrections, and aged care. Currently, doing facilities management, where I manage a whole facility with an aged care. And in Australia, it also falls under what is called NDIS, which is the National Disability Insurance Scheme. So it falls under what they do just with people with disabilities.
Very much beautiful. As a mental health practitioner, what we want to make sure that people who are not privileged, number one, are also the people with disabilities, have the mindset for them to live a life that is more fulfilled, like the way we are also living ours. And it also shows the sense of humanity and love that we have for every single person we have around us, that we are all one and also equal as well. And also, I would like to drive to if you've written any book, Mr. Emil, from the experience you've had, have you written any book or do you plan to write more books in the coming future, Mr. Emil?
I mostly do a lot of work in that area, and I also help with like assessing people as well. So I've been a on-site assessor and teaching others to do the same, and also helping others to get jobs in those areas. But one of my main roles and one of my jobs was called workplace, so workforce development. So the main focus was on developing the workforce to actually do the work to help the people with disabilities and mental health and addictions issues. But not just educate the people all that does the work, but also educate the families as well that has people with mental health and addictions issues. So that was sort of that when I was working for a company called Able Minds, one of my main roles was doing that.
I sincerely appreciate all the ups and downs and also every single thing that you've contributed to the world to make it a better place. I would like to drive to the point of faith. Every single one of us have something we call faith and what we connect to. But most of the time, it is always different. It's from different being and also different perspective, which also make us 100% different with ideas as well. But despite these differences, there should be ways we can understand our differences and also live a life of love, live a life of community, and also live a life that is more fulfilled to make the world a better place. Many listeners could feel that conversation about faith often divide rather than heal because it goes with a lot of personal belief and personal experience as well. So, what do you think makes interfaith dialogue a healing practice instead of a debate, Mr. Emir?
Well, I think we're all made in the image and likeness of God. So that's the first place to start. Regardless of your background, regardless even of your faith, we're all made in the image and likeness of God. So where that comes to is that what I learned from the Bible, it says that we need to learn to be one as God and his son is one. So in that case, one of the best ways to do it is to have those conversations, to ask a person what is their belief. Now, whether you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. What matters is giving the opportunity to actually speak. I had the opportunity to go on a podcast called The Dean Show, and on that, they allowed me to ask questions around Islam. Now, it's not my tradition at all. However, it came about because my friend had converted over to Islam, and I never gave him the opportunity at the start to share why he converted over. And then once I allowed him to share, it sort of opened up my horizons so that I could speak to others as well. Now, I still don't agree with him. However, we're closer as friends and just in general as human beings because I gave him the opportunity to share why he believes what he believes. And that's why I would consider it quite a healing and if I can use the term cathartic process, because you get some closure, but you also get that part where you're like, okay, I understand where they're coming from. You don't have to agree, but I do understand.
I sincerely appreciate that beautiful insight. Despite the differences, as you've said, with someone that you know that is very close to you, to accept this kind of ideas and also believe as well. We do not have to believe it, but 100% need to respect it because that is their own perspective. That is the way they do understand, and that is also the way they are being groomed up. And that is the only way we can have a life that can be more thriving and also more respectful as well. I would like to also drive to the area of traditions, understanding the suffering, the hope in regards to every single one belief. How do you think listening to another person's tradition, understanding of suffering, hope, or meaning, how does it expand our own capacity for compassion without threatening our own belief, despite listening to their own, Mr. Emil?
That's actually, I find that actually a fantastic question because the thing is, the way it softens us up is to first off see that other people have experiences. So that's the start of it. So when you hear that other people have experiences similar to your own, you realize that first off, we're not alone in this world. We each have experiences, can be similar, can be different, but it teaches us to empathize with someone. Now, my cultural tradition when I was raised as a South African, even though I was raised in New Zealand, my parents are South African. So they're very hitting and they were very much what you see is what you get. And they when they tell you something or when they go harden up, those kinds of things, you just did. So when I ended up going into healthcare, I first had to learn to empathize because I just kind of thought, why can't you just get over it? Why can't you just move on from this? But when I started to empathize with people and realize that each one of us has a story, I actually saw that I could get to a place where I could help the person out because I could listen to their story. But I could also find those little connecting the dots as to where you go, they need, we might think they need help in this area, but it could actually be help in a different area. And a lot of times a person will tell you, even without realizing how you can help them. And so, one of the cases, and probably one of my favorite cases, is where there was a young boy that had a criminal background, and he consistently would say things like, I'm not sure what's going to be my purpose because of the crimes that I have committed. So I heard purpose. So he's looking for purpose. He's looking to fulfill something in life. We got him through carpentry school, and then he ended up getting a job as well. During the COVID period, he got a job working at a supermarket. And then during COVID, they actually said to him, You're essential. Now, for me, I'm like, what would that do to the psyche when a person hears you're essential, but the whole time you were told you were a criminal, now you're being told you're essential. And so he still works there full time. He does his job, and they even gave him more hours, 9 to 5. He goes home, plays a bit of games on the PlayStation, but then also works at the supermarket. And he was pushing the trolleys. And then when it became time where they said to him, Did you want to move inside? Did you want to work inside? He's like, No, here I am essential. And so it gave him purpose. Some people would look at a supermarket job as a less than, but he looked at it as a purpose. And so for me, that was just a fantastic part to be part of. But also with his carpentry certificate, he saw he was able to achieve something. and then he moved on to work in the supermarket. And now he hasn't committed a crime in over 5 years. He hasn't gone back to any of those bad behaviors. Rather, now he has a life of purpose. And that's something that really excites me.
100%. It shows that despite the differences and how different we are all humans that we need to show the sense of love. And despite the kind of background or the kind of damage we've led to our life, or despite the things we've done in the past, it can still be reconciled and also be fixed as well for us to live a more fulfilled and also a more stronger life as well, for us to be happier in the life we've come for. And that is why I would like to also speak about the area whereby interfaith dialogue can also help people who are less alone. Some people are really alone in life and they feel like, having this sense of discussion might make them feel in sense of trouble or some kind of ups and down that can cause them into some kind of, unnecessary issues. But in your experience, Mr. Emil, how do you think interfaith dialogue really helps individuals to feel less alone in their suffering, even when belief differs, Mr. Emil?
Well, first off, in traditions itself, things different. So even as a Christian, you have many denominations. So there's already differences within that. Because we're all human beings, we have different experiences as we grow up. So not just faith differences, but just experience differences. So having these discussions, like I said before, at least makes you see that you're speaking to another human being. You're speaking to someone else that has flesh and blood just like yourself, and someone else that's created in the same way that you are. And so, therefore, you can harmonize the experiences or emphasize it. And so, when you're looking at some faith backgrounds, you see that people place value upon life. And that's where you can meet together, is finding that value that you have in life. Now, I'll give you an example. Like I did with my church, I did a talk on euthanasia. Now, most people will don't want to talk about an issue like that because it's quite an issue where people might differ on their opinion. However, in my tradition, euthanasia is not a direction to go. However, I in order to speak to others, I need to understand why they might choose the direction of euthanasia. And it comes down a lot of times down to the value of life. My lifestyle, my life is no longer valuable. Now, different faiths will look at the lifestyles different. However, by me understanding why a person might opt for something like euthanasia, at the very least, I can understand where they're coming from. But now I can bring my own experience, such as, well, I've worked in aged care, I've worked in mental health, and I understand that certain people place certain value on life. So, what I can say in that particular space is I can go, well, how can we add value? So, I like that term, adding value to somebody's life and making their life more of value. So, as said, everyone has a story, a different story. When I've worked in aged care and you're sitting down with, or they might feel that they have a different tradition, but it's still so rich. And I find it a gift from God so that we can actually listen to others. And the same goes sometimes when I get to share my experience, but they bring some advice, some perspective that you might never have thought about. And then I add that when I did the talk on euthanasia at my church, I said to my the church people, I go, this is a perfect, and the same goes for when you're reaching people of other faiths. Have a sit down, give them the opportunity to talk, ask the questions. And so for me, I used to, because I'm a raging extrovert and I love people, I always wanted to just share my story, but I found such richness when I started hearing somebody else's.
It shows the beauty of values, Mr. Emil. Value really mean a lot. It is more valuable than anything we can actually achieve on earth. Values add many, many tremendous. It's more valuable than, we do know the material things are there. But when we add value to someone's life, it changed several things in the community. It changed several things in the life or also the surrounding we find ourselves. So adding values is very important in our life and also in other people's lives as well. It plays a very huge role in the growth of the world we find ourselves. And that is why I would also like to drive to the point of the area of forgiveness, the grief, and also it despite the different traditions we have around us. What do you think are some of the common human themes, such as grief, forgiveness, belonging, or purpose? What do you think these themes really do, or what do you see consistently emerge across different faith dialogue, Mr. Emil?
Well, forgiveness is one, and forgiveness is actually a very big one.
Yeah.
So, forgiveness, a lot of times people will go, I don't want to forgive that person. But what they don't realize is by not choosing to forgive, because forgiveness is a choice, by choosing not to forgive, it's not actually you holding you're holding them captive. You're actually holding yourself captive by not forgiving and also not grieving properly. By not grieving properly, you're once again, well, that person has passed on, regardless of your belief, whether they go to heaven or whether you believe in other afterlife. You no longer have a hold on them, and they shouldn't have a hold on you either. So grieve, but also forgive and let go. And that's a cross faith tradition to let go and to grieve. So gr- I think it's probably one of the best sort of people talk about loving yourself and self-service. It's probably one of the best ways to take care of yourself is to forgive. I have a beautiful story of where a couple of years back there was I'd gone to try and raise money with people to go to the Amazon jungle so that I could do my missionary work. And there was a particular pastor that was actually not very nice to me. And he said, why did you come to my church? Why did you come here to beg for money? Now, I didn't do that. I simply came to share my story. But then the way he treated me, I felt really hurt. Now, he forgot about the whole thing. But about 3 years down the track, he actually shared at one of our churches. And I felt this tremendous anger build up inside of me when I saw him preach and everything. And I was like, how dare he preach? But he did not even know that I held this thing against him. He didn't know. So afterwards, I actually went up to him and I spoke to him and I said to him, you really hurt me when you said these things. And he couldn't even remember me. But then I said, but I think it's time to let go and forgive. I didn't even realize I held anything against him until I saw him again. But then I said, I forgive you. And first off, he thanked me, but I felt a release. And I felt that I could work further and help others further simply because I've let this burden go. Let it off my chest. And so because of that, I was now able to help others to forgive people and move forward.
One of the most important tools in our lives. You said enough, even a lot, when it comes to that perspective. It is always difficult sometimes to forgive, but it is one of the most important tools that we can use to help ourselves move on, grow, and also embrace life the way it comes around us. Because despite we being alive, breathing, and also doing every single activities, going out, coming in, people are gonna offend us, people are going to say things to us, and we are going to be offended. And that is why we want to try our best to build that sense of forgiveness, letting go, because it gives us a very powerful relief right from the inside out to help us move on and check on other things that can help us grow as well. And I am so glad that is one of the most important and also the most essential part that every single religion usually hold. Forgiveness. We don't know grief is also part of it, but forgiveness is one of the very powerful role we need to build and also hold on to make ourselves thrive and also be more better in the life we find ourselves. I would like to drive to the point of communities because despite the part that we do have different religious belief and also perspective as well, we have to also drive to the point of communities as well. How do you think communities really create safe spaces for interfaith dialogue that honors the difference without collapsing into relativism or conflict, Mr. Emil?
This one I found quite an interesting question because what you're saying is true there. It's like, how do we do this without collapse? How do we do this? How do we build community without collapse? And I think it's by talking first, because I like the saying that if you stop talking, that is when you collapse. That's when chaos starts to happen. That's when wars starts to break out. We should continue to talk. And when you use the term fight, not necessarily physical, but fight for peace, fight for understanding, fight for those things. Um, so it is a battle, but it's a battle with fighting, but in conversation. So even if you have disagreements, talk about that, but be willing to set those disagreements aside to still have community. So the thing I like that with me and my friends, it first starts at home. So with me and my friends, we can sometimes agree to disagree and still have a barbecue together afterwards. You know, like we can have a disagreement on perhaps politics, which side of the so the friend that what my friend that converted over to Islam, him and we still have plenty of good conversations. However, we can still have a barbecue afterwards and discuss things together. As long as I am able to first remember we are human beings first and we can talk. So that it starts first small, but then it goes bigger. So then it starts being like, where can we have these conversations? So it's having conversations like you and I are having right now. This is the safe space. This is where you build community. Because for the first time in history, we have this sort of opportunity to be able to speak from different countries to each other just over a screen. But to have things like podcasts, to have things like these conversations, these are the safe spaces where you build communities so that in turn things don't collapse, so that you continue having these conversations. So I would say that's how you build it, and that's how you build the interfaith dialogue, and that's how you create the safe spaces so that you can learn and asks. So the questions you have asked me shows that you are wanting to build community, shows that you are wanting to learn from others, and you don't just come saying, I'm the fount of all knowledge, I know everything, but rather you're asking because you want to learn. And if we can learn from each other, I think that's where we can be safe, but we can grow together as well.
I sincerely appreciate your beautiful insight and also the contribution as well. Community plays a very good role. It is one of the way we can contribute to build a sense of communication and dialogue. We need to speak, we need to continue to speak, as you said, because you said what when we speak, when we stop speaking, that is when situations start to come in. That is when war breaks. We need to speaking, and the only way we can continue to speak and continue to do this is through the platform we are building today. Every single thing that we are doing, building the sense of people coming together to learn and also have the sense of dialogue and communication that can help us grow and also become more better as well. And I want to also sincerely thank you for the beautiful insight in regards to every single discussion we've had. when it comes to dialogue, when it comes to communication, and also building a fertile community that can help us thrive and also make the world much stronger as well, to make it much stronger for us to live a life of fulfillment for those that are also coming in the coming future. Also, Mr. Emil, there is a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mr. Emil, what do you think that thing would be, sir?
I would say the things that from the past that stands out the most for me is family communities. Because we've become such a global community as such, a lot of times we move away from our families. And so, one example of this is my family moving from South Africa to New Zealand, and now me and my wife moving away from New Zealand to Australia. Now, obviously, to pursue careers and pursue meaning and purpose. But now that, like me working in aged care, first beautiful place to work, but there's a reason we need aged care. It's because we no longer have that family unit where families look after each other. So, like for me, I was raised with a lot of cousins around me, a lot of family around me, my mum, my dad, my sisters, but also my cousins, my aunties, my uncles. I knew my second cousins in South Africa. I knew my dad's uncles, and we were a big family unit, and we took care of each other. And so we would also take care of our grandparents as well. And now we see that less and less because we are moving around and it's so easy to move, but we're moving around. What I would like to see is us once again being a family. And one of the ways we can do that is by actually taking care of those who are older, by taking care of those marginalized communities, and once again becoming a global family and even taking care of those who have differing opinions of ours. So I think that's something of beauty that I've seen in my family, but the family before them, the family before them, and is the older generation taking care of younger generation, but the younger generation taking care of the older generation.
Thank you so much. Virtualization have taken over a lot of things. Our phones, laptops, devices, the power of the internet has really separated us in a very, very huge way, because we can communicate with any person around the world just as we are doing currently. But despite that being happening in our time currently, we still need to build a sense of physical connection, which is the family. People who really care about us, people who really care for us, who are always there for us, physical interaction and coming together to show the love and care as well. We do know there are careers that will actually split us. We do want to move forward. We do want to have careers or build things that also live life that's also fulfilling for the coming generation as well. But with the little time that we do know, with the power of the virtualization we have now, we can try our best to still build this physical connection, probably once in a while, to make us to continue to adapt and also build as community and love that we shared when we are always together during those time. I also want to use this opportunity, Mr. Emil, to thank you for the time and the opportunity, so for having this profound and insightful discussion today. Thank you so much, Mr. Emil.
And thank you very much, Timmy. I've really appreciated it, and I think this time is always beautiful. And just these kinds of discussions is the things where we can actually where we can get back to it. And when people listen to it, they can remember the times where they were with their families. So I think the work that you're doing on these podcasts is amazing to actually bring people back to what actually matters.
Thank
So
you
I
so
want
much.
to thank you as well.
All right. Have a wonderful day, Mr. Emil. Bye bye.
Bye.